Kartilya ng Katipunan. Look for one example of primary source. For example, letter, photograph, official document, speech, or video. Analyze how might the format influence its reliability. So one example of a primary source is the Kartilya ng Katipunan. It is the original document written by Emilio Jacinto, which is a set of rules and teachings guiding the members of the Katipunan Revolutionary Society. This primary source is a written document that served as a moral and ideological code for the Katipuneros, instructing them on how to live their lives according in high moral standards and nationalistic principles. It was created during the revolutionary period against Spanish colonial rule in the Philippines and reflects the values and goals of the Katipunan at that time.
Try to trace who created Kartilya ng Katipunan. Do you think the creator's background, perspective, or potential biases might have affected the readability of the source? The premiere of the Katipunan, also known as Kartilya ng Katipunan, is written in 1892 by Emilio Jacinto. Emilio Jacinto was born in 1875. He was a 19 years old law student when he joined the Katipunan in 1894. Inspired by his uncle Jose Dizon, a founder of the Katipunan, he left his studies to fully commit to the movement. As a close advisor to Andres Bonifacio, Emilio Jacinto authored the Kartilya ng Katipunan around 1892. This served as a guide for new members, outlining the moral and nationalistic for Philippine independence and emphasizing the importance of transforming Filipino thought and action. Moreover, Emilio Jacinto's background likely shaped the Kartilya ng Katipunan. His strong feelings and revolution, his dislike for Spanish, his support for Filipinos are all reflected in the Kartilya. As a leader in the Katipunan, his experience led him to focus on national pride, being morally upright, and the need for everyone to be treated equally. The Kartilya speaks out against Spanish rules, dishonest officials, and those who work with the Spanish. It encourages Filipinos to unite and take pride for their identity. Jacinto's views formed by the events of his time, highlighting the Katipunan's goals, which is to end Spanish rules and fix the social problems. This makes the Kartilya a credible call to action for the Filipino wanting independence.
To answer question C, when and where was this source created and how does the historical context affect its authenticity and trustworthiness? The Kartilya ng Katipunan was written in 1894 by Emilio Jacinto, known as the brains of the Katipunan, a secret revolutionary society founded in 1892 by Andres Bonifacio to fight the Spanish colonial rule. Serving as a primer for new members, it outlined the values, ethics, and conduct expected of Katipuneros, emphasizing unity, patriotism, and sacrifice. The Kartilya ng Katipunan, created in the late 19th century, Philippine revolutionary movement against Spanish rule, gains authenticity from its context. Written by Emilio Jacinto, a close ally of Andres Bonifacio, it reflects the true ideals and objectives of the Katipunan. As a secret pamphlet guiding recruits, it serves as a moral and ethical code rooted in the realities of the revolution, making it a credible and authentic primary source of the era.
What do you think was the creator purpose for producing this source, and who was the intended audience? Emilio Jacinto wrote the Kartilya ng Katipunan to guide members of the Katipunan, the secret group fighting for the Philippine independence from Spain. His goal was to teach them values like honesty, kindness, and love for their country, not just to prepare them for their battle, but also to help them live with integrity. The Kartilya explained the group mission to free the Philippines from Spanish rule and build a society where everyone was treated fairly. It stressed unity, urging Filipinos of all backgrounds to work together for freedom and reject discrimination. While it was mainly used to train new Katipunan's members, the Kartilya also aimed to inspire ordinary Filipinos to support the cause. Jacinto words painting a hopeful vision of future Philippines free from abuse and built on justice. Even today, its message of courage, unity, and doing what's right continues to resonate.
How might this purpose and evidence influence credibility? The Kartilya ng Katipunan, authored by Emilio Jacinto, a pivotal leader and intellectual of the Katipunan, stands as a reliable historical document due to its clear purpose, context, and alignment with the revolutionary movement's goals. Crafted as a moral and ideological guide, it served to unify members of the Katipunan under shared principles of patriotism, ethical conduct, and resistance against Spanish colonial rule. Jacinto's direct involvement in the organization ensured the text's authenticity, reflecting first-hand revolutionary ideals rather than detached speculation. The Kartilya content rooted in Enlightenment era values like equality, justice, and reason directly challenged oppressive colonial norms and emphasized the dignity of Filipinos. Urging members to defend the oppressed and prioritize national freedom, its intended audience required adherence to these values, which were vital for sustaining unity and discipline in the struggle for independence. Created during the height of Spanish domination, the documents focus on fostering a collective Filipino identity and rejecting exploitative systems reinforces its reliability as a reflection of the Katipunan's documented actions and aspirations.
There are no clear signs that the Kartilya ng Katipunan has been altered, edited, or reproduced. The version we study today is generally based on Emilio Jacinto's original text, which has been preserved and passed down in history, while it may have been translated or reprinted for educational use. The essence of the content still appears faithful to its original form. If the Kartilya ng Katipunan was altered or edited, it could greatly affect its authenticity. The Kartilya was written by Emilio Jacinto to serve as the moral and ethical guide of the Katipunan, so any changes might distort the true values and teachings it originally carried. Even small edits in words or phrases could change the meaning and lessen the impact of its message. This would not only affect how we interpret the ideals of revolution, but also weaken the historical significance of the document. Authenticity is important because it allows us to connect to the genuine thoughts of Jacinto and understand the real foundation of the Katipunan struggles for freedom.
What evidence support the provenance of this source, and why is provenance important for evaluating authenticity? Evidence of the Kartilya ng Katipunan's provenance includes its authorship by Emilio Jacinto in 1894, its adoption as the official primer of the Katipunan after Bonifacio set aside his own code, and its consistent citation in historical records and studies of the Philippine Revolution. Its preservation and use in scholarship and education further confirms its origin within the revolutionary movement. Provenance is important because it verifies a source's creation, custody, and authenticity. It ensures the document truly reflects its historical context and author, prevents doubts about forgery and misattribution, and strengthens its credibility and value for historical interpretation.
How does this Kartilya ng Katipunan compare or relate to the other sources from the same period of the same topic? Do they corroborate or contradict each other? The Kartilya aligns with the Declaration by promoting ideals of nationalism, equality, and liberty. Both documents share a vision for a free and united Filipino nation, reflecting the aspiration of the revolutionary movement. The Kartilya ng Katipunan serve as the moral and ethical compass from the Katipunan outlining principle for virtuous living and just a Filipino society, and it aligns with other documents of the era, like the 1819 Declaration of the Philippine Independence and the writings of Jose Rizal by promoting ideals of nationalism, equality, and liberty. While the Kartilya's literary and philosophical nature distinguishes it as a distinct primary source, it corroborates other sources in the revolutionary aspiration and vision for the free and united Filipino nation.
To answer the question about do you think upon careful study of source there are information which might have been missed or left out? How does this omission, if there is any, influence your assessment of the source reliability? The Kartilya was adopted as the official code of ethics for Katipunan after Andres Bonifacio reviewed Jacinto's draft and preferred it over his own Decalogo. Jacinto, known as the brains of the Katipunan, was a key figure in the revolutionary society. The source remains highly credible due to its authorship by principal Katipunan member with a direct role in the revolution, corroboration by historical research and writings, and the societal importance placed on this document at the time and thereafter. The Kartilya ng Katipunan, authored by Emilio Jacinto, is primarily a moral and ethical guide for the Katipunan members, focusing on values such as honor, charity, self-sacrifice, and patriotism. However, some aspects might have been left out or omitted, such as a full exploration of the broader historical context or acknowledgement of influences from other global revolutionary documents. This can influence the assessments of the source's reliability by suggesting it might emphasize ideas over exhaustive historical detail or external influences. Because Katipunan was not just a cry for freedom, it was a national aspiration made flesh. It caught the passion of ordinary people willing to stake their lives and overcome the dread of reprisals, believing that worse fate awaited their families if they did not stand up to face their oppressors. It was a secret society that had a formal hierarchy composed of a supreme council and local councils, and the ritual of membership often mistaken for Masonry. Moreover, it had an ideology embodied in its Kartilya ng Katipunan, authored by Emilio Jacinto.
How can we test assumptions and evaluate the trustworthiness of the source based on internal evidence and external corroboration? To determine how reliable Emilio Jacinto's Kartilya ng Katipunan is, it's important to look at both what's inside the documents and evidence from outside sources. Start by analyzing the text itself, focusing on its philosophical foundation, such as its emphasis on inner goodness, logical thinking, and equality, to see how deep and consistent it is. Then, evaluate if the 14 principles are logically connected and ethically sound, consistently promoting virtues like honor, duty, and respect. Also consider how well the Kartilya matches the Katipunan's rule, assessing if its focuses on sacrifice, unity, and moral strength aligns with what a revolutionary group fighting for independence would need. Finally, research who wrote it and when as Jacinto's position in the Katipunan gives him an insider's perspective, adding to the document's believability. Supplement this internal analysis for comparing the Kartilya's teachings to other Katipunan writings and statements from leaders like Andres Bonifacio, and see if these are similar values. Investigate historical accounts of Katipunan's members' actions to see if they live up to the Kartilya's principle, like being loyal and protecting the weak. also place the Kartilya in the context of the 1800s, checking if it is support for human dignity, equality, and freedom aligns with other philosophies of the time such as Enlightenment, ideas for Masonic principles. Lastly, read the academic analysis and critical studies of the Kartilya to understand different viewpoints on its importance and reliability.
Why is it important to consider the historical and social context when assessing a primary source's credibility and authenticity? When evaluating primary sources, it is essential to think about the time and society they came from. This helps you see the writer's personal opinions, goals, or hidden biases, like how a colonial era document might twist facts to make invaders look heroic. It also stops you from unfairly judging all sources by today's value. What seems backward now might have been groundbreaking back then. Knowing the context helps spot fakes to, like catching slang in a letter that doesn't fit its supposed time period. It also reminds you that the powerful groups often controlled what was written down, silencing people everyday's voices. Finally, it clarifies the source's purpose, what it's meant to persuade, brag, or tell the truth. Without this understanding, you might miss the bigger story. Always check other sources from the same period to fill in gaps. Just like the Kartilya ng Katipunan, it gains credibility and authenticity when analyzed through its historical and social lens. As a product of anti-colonial resistance crafted to mobilize an oppressed population, ignoring this context risks mispresenting its purpose, diminishing its revolutionary significance, or even questioning its legitimacy. By situating the text within the Philippines Revolution, we recognize it's not just a moral guide but as a radical manifesto of liberation.
Ang dakilang pakikibakay nagsimula sa napawis na